Welcome viewers. I take you today through the session on Indian festivals and fairs. After this session, you will know about the nature of Indian fairs and festivals and the role of the festivals in attracting the tourists as well as the role of the tourism departments in utilizing these festivals and fairs for the development of tourism industry as such. The objectives of this session is to discuss a few important seasonal festivals of India, understand the reason for the popularity of these festivals, both for local and mainly for the tourists, recognize the background and how the festival is celebrated, and to analyze the role of the organizers in conducting the festivals. In India, most of the festivals herald the beginning of a particular season and the new harvest. Since India still lives in the villages and is predominantly an agricultural economy, most of the Indian customs, traditions and festivals have their roots in an agrarian society itself. India has a variety of seasons. Each season brings happiness and new crops, which provide opportunities for celebrations. Due to time constraints, we are purposely omitting the most common traditional seasonal festivals. Instead, we shall take up in this session a few of the newly created seasonal festivals of tourist importance. The first and probably the most internationally acclaimed seasonal festival of India is the boat race festival in Kerala. Vellam Kalli or boat race is the chief attraction for the tourists. It is a part of rejoicing of the new paddy harvest celebrated in the form of Onam. On this day, various boat race competitions are held. People assemble in large numbers to watch the fete. Vellam Kalli literally means boat game, is a traditional boat race. In Kerala, India, it is celebrated every year. It is a form of canoe racing and uses padded water canoes. It is mainly conducted during the season of the harvest festival of Onam in autumn. Vellam Kalli includes races of many kinds of paddled long boats, which are the traditional boats of Kerala. The race of Chundan Vallam or the snake boat, about 30 to 35 meters or 100 to 100 feet long, with 64 or 120 paddlers aboard. It is one of the major events. Hence, Vellam Kalli is also known as the snake boat race and is a major tourist attraction. Other types of boats which also participate in various events in the race are the Churulun Vallam, Irutukutti Vallam, Odi Vallam, Veppu Vallam, Vadakannodi Vallam and Kochu Vallam. The Nehru Trophy boat race is a popular Vellam Kalli event held in the Punnamadar lake near Alapuzha, which is in Kerala. This boat tradition in Kerala began during an early 13th century war between two feudal kingdoms. The king of one of the feudal kingdoms, Devanarayana, commissioned the construction of a war boat named the Chundan Vallam, and he tasked a famous carpenter of those days with the responsibility of creating it. Hence, the technical method for creating these snake boats are around 650 years old. Of the snake boats still in use today, the Parthasarathi Chundan is the oldest model. Vanchipattu or the boat song is the form of poetry in Malayalam language commonly used during the Vellam Kalli and related festivals. During the Aranmula Uttratadi Vellam Kalli, the Vanchipattu is performed by the participants for its significance in the rituals. Ramapurathu Warrior is considered to be the pioneer of the Vanchipattu. Now let us look at the list of the periodical Vallamkalli event. Initially there was only one boat race organized. Today the event has expanded to all parts of the Kerala which can boast of backwaters or rivers. There are basically two categories of boat races. There are around 14 major events or boat races conducted in Kerala today. Some of the popular ones are the Nehru Trophy boat race in Punnamada Lake, Alappuzha, President's Trophy boat race in Ashtamudi Lake, Kollam, and the Kumarakolam boat race. We now move on to the next internationally acclaimed festival of India, which is the Mango Festival. Mango Festival is a brainchild of the Tourism Department and is a recent entry among the festivals. It helps not only in the promotion of mango cultivation, but also becomes a great center of tourist attraction, both domestic and foreign. Nowadays, Mango Festival is celebrated in almost all major mango producing states of India. However, mango fairs of Saharanpur, Uttar Pradesh, Panipat, Haryana and Delhi are gaining popularity. Generally, the celebrations take place in the early July month. At Panipat, it is generally on the 3rd and 4th of July, and at Delhi, 8th and 10th of July. Haryana Tourism Department is playing a pioneer role in the development of this particular festival. In the Mango Mela of Panipat, more than 450 varieties of mangoes were presented by the participants. However, the festival did not confine strictly to the display of mangoes. Instead, many innovative practices were introduced by Haryana Tourism Department to attract the attention of tourists. It was accompanied by various paintings and quiz contests for the age group of 7 to 16-year-olds, open to school children and visitors. At Delhi in 1994, over 500 varieties of mango were displayed, and it brought together nearly 50,000 tourist visitors. Here, mangoes from foreign countries like Costa Rica, Jamaica, Pakistan, Kenya, Zambia and Venezuela were also displayed. The largest mango, the Rajwaha, weighed around 1 kilogram, while the smallest mango was Motidana, which was just 2 grams in weight. DTDC organized mango eating competitions that attracted a big crowd. Besides this competition, the cultural evening also formed the part of the Mela. Mangoes as well as its plants were also sold that fetched commercial crowd as well. Today, the International Mango Festival, held annually in Delhi, India during early summer, is a 2-day festival showcasing mangoes. It has been held right since 1987 now. It is organized by the Delhi Tourism and Transportation Development Corporation in collaboration with the Agricultural and Processed Food Product Exports Development Authority, the National Horticulture Board and the New Delhi Municipal Council. As in recent years, the festival was held in the Talkatora Indoor Stadium. Notable chefs from the 5-star hotels like the Maurya Sheraton, Taj Mahal Palace and Tower Intercontinental Hotel, Marriott India, Qutub Hotel and Claridge's around India demonstrate the preparation of assorted recipes made with mango. The festival is also an opportunity for agro industries and food industries processing mangoes into jams, pickles, fruit juice and canned fruit to display their products. We now move on to the next important seasonal festival of India, that is the Garden Festival. This festival, which is gaining popularity from year to year, is the festival that is organized by the Delhi Tourism and Transport Development Corporation. The festival began in the late 1980s and today has become very popular amongst tourists. This festival is organized every year in the month of February for 3 days. Competitions of various flowers and plants are organized. The various Categories include the seasonal flowers in potted plants, house plants, vegetable, fruit, cut flowers, foliage plants, etc. are held. The competition is open to individuals and organizations which include nurseries, horticultural departments, etc. The trophies and attractive cash awards are presented by DTTDC. The festival aims primarily to highlight the importance of horticulture and at enhancing the knowledge of the visitors in this field, and as well as to expose the participants to the new discoveries in this field. It is not just a garden show, but all materials pertaining to gardening can also be procured from the various stalls. For example, small instruments, rich decorative terracotta pots, and rich manure and seeds can also be purchased from the various stalls. DTTDC has started an on-the-spot painting competitions for school children, flower arrangements for school children, cultural programs, participation of nurseries, stalls of rare plants, amusement park, puppet and magic shows, tourism pavilion of different states of India, adventure park and martial art display. Even seminars are also organized to discuss the gardening related problems, etc. With the efforts of DTTDC, a Mela atmosphere is created for the visitors to have fun. The festival is gradually assuming the status of a big carnival. Similar to the Garden Festival at Delhi, an international flower festival is organized in Gangtok in the month of April. Let us now look at the highlights of the festival. The festival includes a flower show on all the days, theme gardens, large variety of plants in different categories, along with potted plants, foliage, medicinal and herbal plants, hanging baskets, bonsais, cactus, and succulent cut flowers and vegetables, etc. There is a sale of flowers, plants, and garden accessories. There are soft adventure park for children. Of course, as I've already told you, the painting competitions open for the category of the young group of children right from 6 to 16 years. The magic show competitions are also organized, and the amateur band performers are also invited. There are various workshops and lectures on environment and gardening. Of course, there are many food stalls too. We now move towards the favorite festival, that is the tea festival. The tea festival is celebrated in the major tea producing states of India like Himachal Pradesh and Bengal. At Himachal Pradesh, Kangra Valley Tea Festival is organized in June, while another important tea carnival is celebrated at Darjeeling. At Kunur, Tamil Nadu, in January, Tea and Tourism Festival is organized. This festival is mainly planned to benefit the tea planters as well as those related with this industry. However, tourists also gather in large numbers to watch this unique event. International planters as well as Indian planters are offered package tours to acquaint themselves with the conditions in different regions. It also encourages the planters to grow varieties of other regions in their region, thus making them learn the methods involved in these regions. The ideal season to visit a tea garden is early winter. Tea is grown in the hilly tracts. The tourist in search of cool, peaceful and green place is encouraged to visit the tea plantations. In this way, emerges a symbiotic relationship between tea and tourism. Easy accessibility is a contributing factor to the popularity of the tea districts as tourist spots. The Nilgiris is a 2 drive away from Coimbatore. Similarly, one can reach Kangra Valley in less than an hour from Shimla, and Darjeeling can well be approached from Siliguri. toy train taking the visitors in the heart of Darjeeling is another attraction. These spots attract the visitors for their scenic beauty, sanctuaries, various sports, as well as avenues for photography. A visit to Assam tea plantation can also take one to the famous Kaziranga sanctuary. At Darjeeling, one can have a breathtaking view of the magnificent snow-capped Kanchenjunga ranges. These tea festivals, no doubt, not only serve their commercial purposes but are also helpful in attracting tourists to plantation states which possesses plentiful charm. The next seasonal festival that I will present in this session is one that is celebrated almost in every part of India, the Makar Sankranti. Makar Sankranti festival is celebrated on 14th or 15th January every year. This festival is celebrated to welcome the transition of the sun in Capricorn. The Hindu version of Capricorn is Makara. Hence, this day is known as Makara Sankranti. Sun god is worshipped at many places. Makar Sankranti is set by the solar cycle of the Hindu lunisolar calendar and is observed on a day which usually falls on either 14th or 15th January of the Gregorian calendar. It signifies the arrival of longer days. Makar Sankranti falls in the Hindu calendar solar month of Makara and the lunar month of Magha. The festival is called Magha Sankranti or Magha festival in different parts of India. It marks the end of the month with winter solstice for India. Makar Sankranti is also a harvest festival. It is celebrated to mark the arrival of the spring season. Makar Sankranti is regarded as important for spiritual practices and accordingly, people take a holy dip in rivers, especially Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. The bathing is believed to result in merit or absolution of past sins. They also pray to the sun and thank the sun god for giving them success and prosperity. A shared cultural practice found amongst Hindus of various parts of India is making sticky, round sweets, particularly from sesame, til, and a sugar base such as jaggery known as gur. This type of sweet is a symbolism for being together in peace and joyfulness despite the uniqueness and differences between individuals. For most parts of India, this period is a part of early stages of the Rabi crop and agricultural cycle, where crops have been sown and the hard work in the field is mostly over. The time thus signifies a period of socializing and families enjoying each other's company, taking care of the cattle and celebrating around bonfires. In Maharashtra, the festival is celebrated by flying kites. Makar Sankranti is an important pan-Indian solar festival known by different names though observed on the same date, sometimes for multiple dates around the Makar Sankranti. It is known as the Pedda Pandugu in Andhra Pradesh, Makara Sankranti in Karnataka and Maharashtra, Pongal in Tamil Nadu, Magh Bihu in Assam. Magh Mela is a part of central and north India and as Makar Sankranti in the west, and by many other names. In some parts of India, it is believed that a demon was killed in that day. Sankranti is deemed a deity. As per the legend, Sankranti killed a devil named Sankarasura. Kite flying is integral to this festival. This is done to please the sun god. Uttarayan celebration in Gujarat is known for its international kite festival. The offshoot of Makar Sankranti is the International Kite Festival, which is organized in Gujarat every year. Kite festival seems to be the very life of the city of Ahmedabad during the Makar Sankranti. The history of kite flying can well be traced to medieval times, and even today it is a very popular entertainment not only among the children but also among the elders. The festival is celebrated in Gujarat with kite flying, merrymaking and feasting. Throughout the day, both young and old indulge in the joys of kite flying. This unique festival fills the skies with kites of different colors, shades and shapes. With its increasing popularity internationally, Kite Festival is celebrated every year at different venues like Ahmedabad, Jodhpur, etc. Ahmedabad, the city of kites, has an international kite museum where kites of various sizes, colors and shape from all over the world are collected and displayed. On the kite flying day, competitions are also held in 3 basic events: kite flying, kite cutting and the kite exhibition. Kite Festival accompanies lots of festivities as well. At Ahmedabad, various contemporary Indian handicrafts are displayed at the stalls. Today, it is one of the biggest festivals celebrated in India. The most common game played on Uttarayan Kite Flying Festival is the one using a kite string to tear down someone else's kite. Small, unstable kites are used and controlled solely with the help of tension in the line. These kites are called patang. Thin cotton or hemp line is used to fly a kite. Before the flight, however, the line is coated with a mixture of crushed glass and glue known as the manja. After applying the manja to the line, it becomes abrasive and with the correct technique can be used to tear other lines during flight. The lines are often so sharp that they cut fingers. Usually, there are teams of 2 with one player holding the spool and the other feeding the line through their fingers, controlling the tension. When the line is left taut, the kite gets deformed by the wind and remains stable to some extent. By reducing the tension, it begins to sway left or right depending on the wind. Players use this phenomena to attack their opponents. On cutting down another kite, often drums are sounded. Kite fighting is an enjoyable sport both to the spectator as well as to the participants. In this festival, people from different regions of India arrive to the state. But apart from that, there are also participants from Japan, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Germany, Canada and USA. With the increasing popularity and creativity in the game, it is no longer confined to flimsy paper and bamboo creations of children. Nowadays, kite experts produce kites in a variety of size, shapes and colors. Some of the kites have 300 to 600 tailed pieces. Kites are usually made of nylon sailcloth. The frames and tubings are of fiberglass or carbon graphite. Apart from the usual patangs, which are the lighter Indian versions, the Kite Festival is home to a plethora of beautiful and elegant kites. Much of these have been brought to India from abroad. Some different kites that you can get to see at the festival are the Wow Balang kites from Malaysia, the Iliangava kites from Indonesia, the giant banner kites from the USA, the Rokaku fighter kites from Japan, the sculptural kites from Italy and the flying dragon kites from China. As with every other great festival in India, Uttarayan is accompanied by delicious traditional recipes. Exciting ranges of Gujarati food is prepared and available to be tested by the participants. The speciality of Gujarat, Undiyu and Tal and Papdi can also be had on this day. Undiyu is very popular and is served in pop-up stalls around the city. It is a Gujarati dish made of seasonal vegetables, including green beans, peas, unripe bananas and potatoes. Another essential ingredient in Undiyu is the muthia. Muthia is a type of pancake made by deep frying fenugreek leaves with a besan, chickpea flour coating. The vegetables and muthia are cooked together with a combination of spices in an upside down pot which is heated from above by placing it underground and lighting a fire on the top. Another scrumptious snack is the chikki. Chikki is a type of candy made from til, sesame seeds, peanuts and gur or jaggery. Jalebis are also very common. There are deep fried spirals of batter that are soaked in sugar syrup and served hot. No matter whether or not you have a sweet tooth, you will find something that you will enjoy. Once the sun sets, the sunset over the city is breathtakingly beautiful, as the sky is filled with kites of all sorts of colors, shapes, sizes that glisten in the golden light. Once it gets dark, the sky is illuminated with hundreds of tukkals, which are kites carrying candles, and paper lanterns. It indeed is a spectacle to behold. Cultural programs of famous Gujarati folk dances like Garba are organized. Interestingly, kite flying is a popular sport all over the world. With the ever-increasing popularity of kite flying, massive tourists are turning up in the state. Gujarat Tourism Department is paying special attention to explore this popular event to increase and attract more tourist output to the state. As we have seen every year in India now, an international kite festival is being celebrated where participants from all over the world join. It is accompanied by cultural programs, craft and food fairs, etc. to make the event a complete entertainment package. Let us sum up the session. We have seen in this session the importance of seasonal festivals to the people of India. We have also understood how these festivals have become famous amongst tourists, both domestic and international. We have also seen the role of various responsible government bodies to showcase these festivals as tourist attractions. Such seasonal festivals that have been integral and an existing feature in our country have the potential to be converted to tourist attractions, thus increasing the economic viability that comes with tourism to the place where the festival is being held. Thank you for listening to this session.